that would be really interesting for us to talk about is obviously the fact that we were double cast for nurse.
Yes.
And the differences between our characters. So I was wondering if you could kind of extrapolate on your view of the nurse and how you put yourself into it, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. So when I was auditioning, I wasn't called back for the nurse, which was interesting. And I was actually, the funny thing is I had flown out to New York during callbacks, and like the day after we did those first auditions, to do college auditions. So like they posted the callback list, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I was called back for I must have been called back for Benvolio and Lady Montague or Lady Capulet. I can't remember which one. So I was like, okay, this is cool. So I was and the apothecary, and so Cora was like, don't worry if you can't get all this in, but we would like you to sort of submit some videos of the size people are doing in callbacks. And I was like, okay. So I tried to submit some from New York in my little like hotel room. I'm like trying to set up everything. And then Mr. Uribe, I think, called me when I was in the New York Public Library and was like, would you be willing to be considered for the nurse? And like, will you read for this? I was like, yes, sure, I will. And I love the nurse. She's hilarious, right? And I was like, oh, this could be fun, yeah. So I like worked on all the same sides, like the monologue, and I did it over the phone. And so I was very excited when I saw the cast list come out. I was like, oh, this will be a fun challenge, because she's I've always kind of viewed it as kind of a difficult role because I mean you have to laugh for what is it, like
So
3 minutes straight, and we've done this together. Like it's difficult. It's hard to make yourself
It's really difficult.
find things that are funny, right? But yeah, I mean, what is your experience thus far with it? Like, did you expect this?
It was funny for me because I'm obviously a bigger person, and so my typecast tends to be really interesting, especially in a high school setting. Not that I'm uncomfortable with that fact, but it's something that you kind of have to acknowledge if you're being realistic. So when I heard that the show was Romeo and Juliet, I was like, unless I'm ensemble, I think the nurse is the thing that I'm really gonna try and go for.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the size thing, but she's big and she's buoyant, and I think anyone who has met me can see some similarities.
Yeah.
So I was really working toward her. I was lucky enough to have Mr. Uribe first semester for Shakespeare.
Oh yeah.
So, we have to do monologues in that class, quite a few Shakespearean monologues.
Oh,
and
I know that, yeah.
And I did the nurse's monologue for my in class, so that he could get see what it would be like to have me do the nurse, see what my take was on it before auditions even happened. I was lucky enough to get to work with him a little bit on it, and I already had it memorized. So when I went on for the auditions, I felt a lot more comfortable going in with it and really tried to put myself forward. It's one of those roles where the difficulty wasn't necessarily bringing her to life, because I think I'm very similar to her, or at least the way that I play the character, I see her as loud and crass and buoyant and in your face and happy and caring and all those things. So it was about combining the technique of the nurse, because I think a lot of people don't realize that it's a really hard role to play. It's very high energy.
Oh yeah.
She moves between prose and verse. There is a part of the monologue where you're basically laughing for 3 minutes straight, and anyone who's had to laugh on stage for more than 30 seconds, commendations to you. It's really hard. So for me, it was definitely about balancing who I know her to be as a character and a person with the Shakespearean technique that's required for the role.
Right. So I kind of want to ask you, like we know each other from school, and we entered in 8th grade together, right? Or did you enter before that? Yes. We've known each other since 8th grade and everything. But I don't know, what were you like as like a kid, like a little kid?
Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all think I'm sassy now.
Oh no.
I was I was very vocal as a child to the point where my sister has a Facebook page called Katya-isms, and it's full of all the dumbest things I've said in my life.
Oh
Just
my gosh.
pages of quotes. Um, yeah, I was always very studious. I was always a rule follower, and that's kind of changed now as I've become older. But I struggled a lot with mental health also as a kid, and that shaped a lot of who I am now. So yeah, I was a very like well-behaved child, but I was vocal my entire life. If I didn't like something, you knew about it. If I had an opinion, I knew about it. You could hear me from across the school 100% of the time.
Right.
I haven't changed a lot, I would say.
Yeah.
What about you?
As a kid, I was pretty shy, like very early on. But my mom like worked at the Performing Arts Center, the Segerstrom Performing Arts Center in fundraising, so I got to see I got to be around art a lot of the time, which was really cool. So I started dance when I was like really young, like 3, and then I started doing theater and stuff. But in that sort of interim before I started like theater at SCR, um, uh,
We
which
both
was
went to
fancy.
SER.
Yeah. When I was doing dance, like sort of, I started doing it competitively, and it's interesting how that sort of affected my self-esteem. You would think, oh, she's on stage performing, it gets, I would be more comfortable, but it was sort of like as a kid, I was like, I didn't have any filter. No kids do, right?
Yeah.
I
I
was
never
still
grew
shy,
up.
but I wasn't. It wasn't like self-conscious shy.
Yeah.
But as I sort of got into competitive dance, I was still social, but I was very self-conscious, about the way I was perceived. So it was like this weird split. Like I was super out there, and I wanted to perform and I wanted to do all that stuff, but also I had this sort of hesitation a lot of the time.
It's funny. I see that in your acting. I actually wanted to ask you about how you think that your childhood has affected your acting now, and how you think your growth as a person and as an actor is affecting.
That's a really interesting question. I think dance has a lot to do with the way I move, the way I think, the way I react to people.
Hmm.
I'm not alone in this, of course, but I do feel like I seek approval in everything I do. You know what I mean? Just because when I was little, I was being judged as sort of an activity, as a sport. Competitive dance that's
Right.
sort of what it is, right? And it's fun and it's great until you realize that maybe you're not the best one on stage, and you
Hmm.
get that reinforced. And so that I think is it has sort of a negative impact on my acting, but at the same time it makes me, I don't know, a hard worker, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a
I
double-edged sword, you know what I mean?
Yes. For as long as I've known you, I've always observed that about you. You were always the person who was like head in the books, getting stuff done, everything's on time. You were always very, from what I observed about you, studious and very hardworking. And I understand what you mean about competition really affecting you, because on one hand you enjoy dance and it's what you love, and that's
Right, right.
for a young kid, no matter how strong or confident you may be, to be told that you're not as good as someone is always going to affect how you think and your future art and all of that.
Right, right. How was your experience as a child, like sort of, I don't know, helped you develop as an actor or influence that, or even as a person too?
It's funny because I struggled with depression and anxiety my whole life. It wasn't just a problem when I became a teenager. A lot of people tend to think that, but it's been a lifelong struggle for me. And I bring that understanding into my acting, and especially I've always been very into psychology. I've always been observant of people, and I've always been fascinated by, I don't know, anything human. If you look at all my interests, I'm into acting, the study of humanity and portraying,
Right.
a character and a person. I love psychology, neuroscience, anything to do with how humans behave and interact just fascinates me. And I combine that knowledge and that interest with my personal experiences and difficulties. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I want to I don't know, when I look at a character, I always connect myself to it before I look at everything else, whether that's in physicality or mentality or having a real understanding of their circumstances. To me, it's observing the character and their natural state and trying to bring that as much as possible. Because to me, acting was something that saved my life. Depression does something where you lose interest in everything. You have no motivation to do things. It's very difficult to hold a job or get good grades in school because you have no motivation to do anything. It's something that I really struggle with. And theater was the thing that really managed to bring me out of the hole every time. Even Romeo and Juliet, I was actually having an incredibly bad bout of depression during that time, to the point where every time I was told I had rehearsal, my whole body would shut down. But of course I would go because I worked toward that role. I worked really hard for it, and I wasn't going to let this unmotivation, this thing in my head to prevent me. So I would show up anyway, and I would try my best to give full energy and always put it forth. And you know, the minute that you step into rehearsal and the minute that you step into the character, you know, Katja might be depressed, but the nurse isn't. And so acting was always the thing that saved me, because I can be as grumpy as I want when I show up to rehearsal, but then you're a different character, you know.
Right.
You're there to be someone else, and that was my way of both using the character as a way to work through my own issues, and also using my issues to really put this character forth and give it my all, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting how, you know, theater and art, it's just so therapeutic, you know. You think about it, and
it's life-saving, very
amazing.
pro art.
So what are your plans for, like, after graduation? Like, is it college? Is it not? Is it theater? Is it not?
Yes and no. I want to get a degree in either education or criminal psychology. Because like I said, I've always loved humans, and I have a strong belief in education, and that's why I'm really interested in it. But like I said, theater has, I mean, I've been doing theater since I was 9. It's been a part of my life forever, and I've been singing my whole life. I dance. It's, art is kind of something that's important to me, and so even if it's not maybe my career for the future, I don't think I'll ever quit or stop.
Right.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to school for acting. I'm very excited.
Which school?
Right now, technically, my top 3 choices, the ones I'm deciding between right now, are NYU, UCLA, and DePaul. So I'm very excited. But yeah, it's daunting, theater.
Yeah, especially I wanted to ask you how you think quarantine has been affecting kind of your last, you know, I mean, we're seniors, it's our second semester, and not only affecting the end of our school year, but the beginning of college and the beginning of a new life. And so I wanted to ask you how you're dealing with that, how it's affecting you.
Yeah, it's been hard. It, like you said, I think it's a motivation issue at its root. I've been having, you know, difficulty waking up in the morning and finding, you know, the motivation to do not even schoolwork, but just, you know, regular activities. It just feels, the days sort of feel monotonous, and I'm working on it, finding things to do and ways to be creative, but it's a challenge. And I think now, actually, it's funny, the past few days have been kind of the turning point, because it's been, what, about 3 weeks or a little more?
It's been a month, yeah.
It's been a long time. But yeah, I think it's there. I had a turning point a couple of days ago where I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to a regular schedule. I'm going to try to keep playing piano, and maybe I have a harmonica from 2 years ago, so that might need to be in use. It's an harmonica, and I think it will bring me a lot of joy. So yeah, things like that. How are you handling it? How are you doing?
I've been doing the same thing as you, where when I'm not I don't know. I've been trying to pick up skills and use my time for something. I played piano my whole life, but I fell out of active practice some years ago. But we still have a piano, so I've been trying to kind of relearn, reteach myself because I still remember how to play, but a lot of well, I used to be really good, and now I can just plunk out the notes I need
Yeah.
to, and I want to get back to where I was. And I know how to hand sew, but I never learned how to machine sew, so
Ooh.
trying to learn that stuff like that. But yeah, for me, it's the graduation that's really tough for me. Losing prom is, students can run their own prom. Students can once quarantine is over, we can make an effort to see each other. That's all great. But graduation is the thing that we worked for 12 years.
Yeah.
We went through this much education and this much stress and hard work, and to have it kind of ripped out from under you is rough. It's funny. I learned that neither of my parents nor my sister ended up being able to go to their prom or graduation through unforeseen circumstances. All of them, not that they didn't choose not to go, they all managed to not be able to go to either of them. And when I found that out, I was like,
it's like a curse. What is
it's the family curse. Got it. Good. Okay.
So
Good
Katja,
to know.
you are the reason. It had to happen to you. So this is. No, I'm not blaming you. Don't repeat that.
I got mad when they told me that.
I have a cute question. Because we're stuck inside, and because we might not get to experience a lot of what we wanted to in this last portion of our senior year. Like, I just want to know what your favorite place to be is.
My favorite place to be.
Or whatever first comes to your mind. I know there's probably a lot of places.
I'm gonna give a cheesy actor answer and say the Black Box.
Cute.
To be honest, because truthfully, my favorite place to be is in my head, because you can create anything there and do whatever you want and escape your reality there. But if you're looking for a physical place, I mean, the Black Box is where a lot of my favorite shows and favorite memories have been. I've had incredibly good and bad things happen there, breakdowns, laughter, tears, joy. Just not that I haven't had good experiences in every theater I've been to, but the Black Box to me, OCSA was the first place I had ever done Black Box theater. I'd done small theaters themselves, but they were, musicals. I used to do a lot of musicals.
I remember I saw you in Into the Woods before I came to OCSA.
Oh, that's
or maybe
right.
After,
oh
yeah,
my
you
gosh.
were Twitch, right?
You did.
CCC, yeah.
For those watching, Ella and I have a weird history before OCSA. Just SCR really went through it. We went through the theater circuits kind of.
We did, like a bunch of different kinds.
Yeah, I don't know. I discovered my love of intimate theater at that Black Box, and that really affected my life.
Yeah. Awesome.
What's your favorite place, Ella?
It's very difficult, but it'd probably be somewhere at SCR, or my family lives in, part of my family lives in Georgia. And there's this, my cousin has this house on St. Simon's Island called the Sea Lark. It has a name. And they have it's a very narrow and tall house, and they have several floors. And there's one floor that has the kitchen in it, and it overlooks the little tiny beach that they have on your little island in Georgia, and I love it.
I love that. I might rescind my answer then. I might say there's a park in Minnesota called Arden Park. A lot of people know I was born in Philly, but I lived in Minnesota for a while, and you can say what you want about the Midwest, but the nature there is gorgeous. I mean, you walk in and you breathe the fresh air, you hear the birds, you smell the grass. There's just this one park that has these pine trees I would always climb, and it was a very calming place where you can get away from the world. So, yeah, we'll say that instead.
Oh, yay. Oh, to be outside, right? We can dream.
Thank you for the interview, Ella.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Time.
It's been so nice to see you again. I'm gonna stop recording now.
Bye.
Bye.